Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Again, welcome. I'd like to thank each and every last one of you for your commitment, your you taking the time to come and to learn from the Most High Yah, according to what He has written in the Torah through His prophet Moshe. Sometimes it gets a little difficult to stay consistent, but we have to. And this is one of the things that we're learning while we're going through these Torah cycles. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get started. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So this week's Torah portion is called Shoftim. Shoftim. And Shoftim pretty much has to deal with judges. Who are the judges and what do they do? There were several chapters. It was chapter number 16 through chapter number 21. I don't have a summary written out for us from a slide, but just to kind of give you a little recap, chapter number 16, it was the latter part of the chapter where it begins to talk about how they were supposed to set up judges and set up officers and individuals who's responsible, what they call the shoterim, who are responsible for documenting and writing out all the different areas of, you know, families. They were responsible for the conscription for the military. They were responsible for, knowing who's in charge of the tribes. They're responsible for decisions that have been made. So there's always records. There's not see, we're under the understanding that everything was just someone said something, but these people were actually documenting and they were writing and they had records of the decisions that they've made. The judges were to judge according to what was stipulated in the Torah. It did mention that if some of the decisions that were to be made were difficult for them, then they would have to go to what they would call the high priest and the judge at that time, and then they would have to seek Yahweh's counsel. So that tells us that there's some things that even us as judges or even high officials or whatever we may be, there's just areas in our life where we're just not going to have the answer, and we're going to have to look to Yah for the answers on a lot of things, right? So we don't all have the answers. And there are difficulties. There's things that you just won't understand. So, just like in the land that we're in right now, you have your several different layers of courts. You have your, courts in your jurisdictions in your counties, and then you have your states, and then you have the Supreme Court. It goes all the way up. So the time in which the Most High would call the people when they had difficulty was to say that, hey, if you can't resolve something, I need you to go to the Most High and have it resolved. Unfortunately, where we are right now, we're not able to do so. We're not able to go to the Most High and have our issues resolved. There's a lot of areas that we're experiencing in our lives right now where we're not getting justice. You're not getting justice from your jobs. You're not getting justice from family members. You're not getting justice from friends or associates. There's people that probably owe you money, never paid you back. I mean, all kind of stuff. I'm speaking from my own experience, and I'm trying to keep it all relevant to what we're experiencing. Okay. Chapter number 17 is just dealing more or less with idolatrous worship. And it talks about how, if Israel's ever to have a king, it has to be chosen by Yah, and then to give some stipulations about the king. I don't want to talk too much about the king today. That's for a whole nother day. Chapter number 18 is talking about the laws for the Levites and what their gifts are, and also too, it mentions a false prophet. It mentions some of the practices that were being done in the land of Canaan, that the Most High wanted them not to do. And what he wanted was a real, healthy relationship with them. And he didn't want them to operate like the nations that were there before them. So, and then 19 deals with the city of refuge, and 20 is dealing with the laws of war, which we're not going to talk about today. And then we're not going to also talk about the city as a refuge. And then also to the unsolved murder, which is found in chapter number 21, all the way from verses 1 to 9. There are some regulations on how to handle that, of course, because not everyone knew how someone died. So what we're seeing is real life situations. But I do want to focus our attention on these four areas today out of our Torah portion. I have the first one as the burn, which is called the Uviarta. And I'm going to explain to you what the Uviarta is. And I'm also going to tell you what Kamoni means. Kamoni means like me, right? This is dealing with the prophets and how the Most High has instructed Moshe on the day that he received the covenant that he wanted to raise up a prophet, you know, and a prophet had to come from their family members. So he said, also, I wanted me to get someone who's like me, Kamoni, right? So you can write this down as well for Kamoni. Kamoni means like me, okay? The Ka is like, and then Moni is like me, okay? The witnesses. We want to talk a little bit more about that. We've talked about it in the past, and you always hear me talk about it, but I want to go in a little bit more detail because this in particular Torah portion points us to some different regulations on how witnesses work and what true witnesses are and how viable they are. And then last but least, we want to talk about the mature, okay, in terms of Tamim. Okay, so Tamim is dealing with the mature and how this is important to us and what is the basis of the Most High asking us to become mature. And we're going to find that out. Okay. So let's go ahead and get ready and go into our lesson. Of course, you feel free to ask any questions that you may have along the way. I'm always open to having discussions. Okay, let me see. Someone says, mm, I think here, yeah, she's in. I think so. Yeah, she's accepted. Here's what it says in Shoftim. It says, but Yahweh is enthroned forever, and he has set his throne, or he set up his throne for judgment. He will judge the world in righteousness, and he will judge the peoples fairly. This phrase about judging the world and judging them in righteousness in Tehillim, which is Psalms chapter number 9, is not the only place where this is mentioned. It's mentioned all through the latter part of the Psalms. The I think in division number 4, starting in chapter number 91, and it goes all the way to 99 to 100. So this is something that's pretty relevant, or what you would say prevalent in the scriptures, that the Most High is going to judge us, and He's going to judge the world. Okay, and this Torah portion kind of gives us a little hint and clues about how and why He's going to judge us, okay, and judge the world. But it says He's going to judge them in righteousness, which is a theme that's found in our Torah portion about how these priests and these leaders and how these officers and judges are supposed to judge, okay, and it's based upon Yahweh's judgment. It's based upon what is fair and what is equitable, okay, and so we're going to talk a little bit about this in a minute. But I think it's an opening verse to kind of get you to understand that judgment is impending. It's an impending judgment that's coming. And the reason why the Most High is, giving us His Torah and waking us up is so you and I will not have to experience this. This is what it's about. Because Shaftim is about judges. Okay. So the judges, and of course, we don't have any right now. So how is this relevant? It's relevant because there's ideas that point you on what to do while you're not under any other type of judge, because Yah is the judge. So what we've done is instead of us being judged by our judges, we actually chose to be judged by Yah. We chose that because we decided not to listen to what he said. So we chose that. Just like we chose to have a prophet, we chose that. We chose for Moses to be the one to speak to us. We chose that. We chose the idolatrous practices. We chose that. Okay. So these are all the choices. Can you hear me? I can't hear him. Is it only me? Can
We can hear you.
can you hear me? Can
Yeah.
Elder Bill, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, we can hear
Yes,
you.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So that's
In
what
and out. Maybe
okay,
it's that.
praise Yah. So basically, what we're talking about is judgment. And the basis of the judgment, everyone, is only going to be, listen to what I'm going to tell you and listen carefully. The judgment is only
Texas says
going to,
everybody else could hear me.
the judgment is only going to be, the judgment is only going to be based upon what they would call tzedek, which is righteousness, because this is what he told them to do, right? So whatever they're called to do, it's like a copy of what he wants, what he's doing and what he expects from them. So there has to be a consensus. There has to be very like-mindedness between the Most High and his people. So when he talks about, someone who refuses to listen to what the judge said, then he says a person who turns away from that judgment or the instructions of the Torah, which they were given to follow and have been made known to them what the decision or the answer is, that person will automatically be put to death because they went against the judgment. They went against the mishpat. Okay. So, but the mishpat, the judgment is based upon righteousness. And so the Most High is asking for the children of Israel to elect and select people that were going to be over them who were only interested in pursuing that which is right, because that's what righteousness is. Okay. Yes, Michelle.
So the judgment is based upon righteousness, correct?
Correct.
So, and then righteousness would be based upon keeping the mitzvah.
Yes. It's
Okay.
according to what has been spoken, right? So that's a great question. So what we're trying to do, everyone, is I'm not trying to get us to listen to biblical stories or read the Bible. I'm not trying to get us to do that. What I'm trying to do is to get us to understand how Yahweh is going to deal with us. Okay. And so he's going to deal with us according to what is right. Because remember, he said, whatever, a man does, I'm going to give him according to what his deeds are. I'm going to give him only what he deserves. Okay. And it has to be balanced. So righteousness is going to be balanced, right? And so we're going to figure out, like, okay, well, what are the righteous deeds or what do I need to do, right? So this is what I'm going to attempt to try to explain to you. Okay. There's a day that's coming. Okay. This is found in the book of Malachi, chapter number 4, verse number 1 through verse number 3. It says, for the day is coming. Okay. So it's a day, it's not a night. Okay. It's going to be burning like a furnace. And when all the proud, okay, all the proud and evildoers will be stubble. Okay. I have in bold the areas that I want us to think about. Okay. So when all the proud, okay, and I'm going to explain what the proud is before we go any further. The proud are individuals that are going beyond the boundaries that has been set by Yah. Okay. In Hebrew, they call them a Zud or a Zadim. And this was something was mentioned in your Torah like 5 or 6 times that says that we need to get rid of the Uviarta. We need to get rid of the proud. We need to get rid of the people who go beyond, like the person who didn't listen to the instructions or they got the judgment that they said, no, I'm not going to do what it says. I'm going to go outside of that. I'm going to go beyond that. Like the individuals who were, doing idolatrous practices that he mentioned, the man or the woman who were caught in idolatry. They're going beyond what they were supposed to, going beyond the covenant. So this is for the people who say that they can go beyond. Evildoers are literally individuals that are, it said proud and evildoers. Okay. Two classifications. Those who are going beyond the boundaries. Evildoers are the ones who are just dysfunctional. That means that they're not functioning correctly on the path that Yahweh has chosen. So they're on the path, okay? But they're not functioning correctly. Okay. The proud is going beyond the path. Okay. So he said they're going to be stubble on what? The day that is coming will set them ablaze. Okay. So what we're talking about, we're not talking just spiritual language. We're talking in language that the Most High is making it very clear about what this experience is going to be when judgment happens. Okay. And he says that And he says, and of course, he identifies it as Yahweh Zavaoth, meaning of Yahweh's armies. So anytime you see Yahweh Zavaoth mentioned, he's mentioning Zawaot, because Zawaot has to do with Zawa, and Zawa means commandment. And the oath right here is commandments. So Zawa means army, because Yah is the commander of the army that's giving out the commands. Yisrael is Yahweh's army. They're one of his armies. They're not the only one of his armies, they're part of his armies. This is the reason why he's given us the commands. See? And he said he's not going to leave them neither root nor branch. And here is the shoresh, which is the very root of a tree, talking about a family or branch, the extension of what is grown out of the ground. So if he's talking about root and branch, he's talking about going all the way down in their family lines. And I'm going to kill everyone in the family lines. I'm going to burn them up. Okay. And this is what you and I are trying to make sure that we're not part of this. Okay. But to you who fear my name, okay, just like he said that the king, and you read in your Torah portion this week, it said that the king is supposed to write a copy, which they call a Mishneh. You hear it in the Jewish culture. It talks about a Mishneh, which they call the oral Torah, which is false. The Mishneh is a copy, okay? A copy of something that's written, and it's supposed to be written right there in front of the Kohanim. And the king is supposed to read this every single day of his life in order so that he would learn to fear Yahweh. So that's what it is. Okay, so even the king has to be subject to the Torah. This Torah, the one that you're reading today, okay? And he said that the Son, this is not spiritual, this is physical, the Son of righteousness. And there's another text in Isaiah chapter number 62. I don't have a slide for it, but it talks about how the righteousness of Jerusalem will shine. And it talks more or less about the light of righteousness, of flame. She's literally going to be burning like a flame. Okay. So he's making these comparisons between the sun and righteousness. Okay. So the sun is going to bring righteousness. The reason why the sun is going to be righteousness, because the sun is going to be used for the day of judgment. That's why it says it's coming on a day. And day has to do with light, and light has to do with the sun. So the reason why he's brought the sun up there is not only to be a witness, but to also perform righteousness, which is to bring judgment. I hope that you can see it and understand what's being said here.
I
Okay.
don't. Is he talking about the physical sun
The
or like
physical
the
sun.
sun? Oh,
The
he said the
physical,
sun is going to reveal righteousness, the S-U-N.
yes, the physical sun in the Shamayim is being used. And this is not the only place. You can also reference Psalms 50. Psalms 50 tells you that he's going to use the sun. This is in Malachi. So all of the prophets and the priests, they knew this. They knew what Yah was going to do. Okay. So the sun is going to be used. And it said it's going to rise with healing in its wings, meaning that I'm going to get rid of, this is the reason why it's going to be burning. Yah is going to get rid of the proud, and he's going to get rid of the evildoers. Okay. And he says, and there's going to be healing in its wings. And so you will break out leaping like calves released from a stall. For you will trample the wicked, they will be ashes. Why? Because they're being burned under the soles of your feet when you come out from being protected by Yah on the day when I take action. See, so there's coming a day, says Yahweh Zavaot. That means of Yahweh's armies, the commander of the armies. Okay. Here's something else that supports this, because you need another witness. This is the Uviarta, meaning I'm going to get rid of, because that's what Uviarta means. It means to burn away. Okay. It says your hand will find all your enemies. This is in Tehillim 21:8, going through 10. Your hand will find all your enemies. Your right hand will overtake those who hate you. At your appearing, You will make them like a fiery furnace. Yahweh will swallow them up in his anger. Fire will consume them. You will destroy from the earth their descendants, rid humankind of their posterity, and for they intended evil against you. But despite their scheme, they won't succeed. Again, Yah is using fire. He's using like a fiery furnace. He's using consuming them. He's going to destroy them. There's so many other scriptures. Isaiah 66 talks about how this fire is coming and how he's going to use it to judge all humanity on the face of the earth. So what he's trying to do is to get us to not just to read the Torah portion, but to, when you look at the Torah portion, understand when he says, tells Moshe to tell the people to uviarta, uviarta, go ahead and burn away and consume this evil that's around you. Okay. And he says, bakir baka, and that means something I'm about to explain. Okay. So the uviarta is the burn. I need you to burn away from you. Okay. These things, because that's what he's going to do. Okay. So when they were living in their land, he wanted them to be very careful about how they were living and what was around them. Okay. One of the things that stuck out to me about the Torah portion this week is when he told them that you're not to sacrifice to Yahweh Elohim a cow or a sheep that has a defect or anything wrong in it or with it. That would be an abomination to your Elohim. And then he goes on to tell them that this type of behavior is detestable to the Most High. And everything that's detestable to the Most High has to be burned away. It has to get away, right? So when he talks about, and you read it in English, it said in the midst of you, right? And so when I was reading, I was like, okay, in the midst of you. But then when I looked at the Hebrew, it didn't say in the midst of you. It said anything that's near you. So they're saying midst, and midst is tok, but this is bekerev. So this is in the anything that's coming close to you or near to you. Okay. And the reason why he's saying this is because he is going to come in fire, just like he did on Mount Sinai. Remember, he said, anybody comes near me, I'm going to what? They were going to die. They're going to burn. Okay. So he's telling the people of Israel that if there's certain things around you that I want you to burn away from you, I want you to get rid of the individuals that are doing these things. Okay. So the defectiveness of these lambs, right? So he's saying literally, the individuals that are doing, the offering sacrifices that are not proper, detestable abominations to the Most High, idolatrous practices, falsehoods, hostility and arrogance, these types of people, falsehood meaning you swearing a false witness against someone, falsehood that you're lying, hostility, a hostile witness against someone, you wanted something to happen to them, so therefore you lied. So he said, let happen to them what they wanted to happen to their brother. The arrogance and the pride is to go beyond what the Most High has said, right? Which they got a judgment from the priests who were sitting in the place that the Most High told them to serve. Yah is saying that I'm going to make an example out of these people. And the individuals that do these things are called the presumptuous. Okay. They're called the presumptuous. These are the individuals that are going beyond what they're supposed to. In Hebrew, it's called zud or zid, right? And it means to boil over. Okay. It means to get so hot, to burn. So when you're boiling something, you would use fire to cause it to burn. So what's going on is that they have their own fire, right? Literally, they have their own fire. That's why it calls them to bubble up and bubble over and go beyond what they're supposed to. Just like a pot that's boiling with water or soup or whatever, it boils over and the pot starts, bubbling and the top flies off and you can't control it. So what the Most High is saying, we got to get rid of these individuals who are presumptuous, and I'm going to make an example out of them because what can happen is, since they're near you, you can get affected by them. So when someone started doing defective practices like offering Yah something with a moon in it, he says, guess what? You start doing these things, other people are going to do it too. We need to get rid of that. Okay. We need to get rid of the detestable abominations like, burning up your children, idolatrous practices, worshiping, doing, witchcraft and sorcery, We need to get rid of the individuals who, when an answer is given and a judgment is made, they want to go against what the Most High said. They're hostile towards the Most High and they're arrogant against what He said. Okay. So these are the individuals. They're full of pride. So we have to get rid of it. So the Most High is going to make an example out of them. Now, when we're dealing with the witnesses, okay, this is where it really gets deep, okay, where I really want us to pay attention. Okay. It says the death sentence is to be carried out only if there was a testimony from 2 or 3 witnesses. And I'll pause right there. Last week, there was a individual who had to go and tell on his wife, his son, his best friend, or his brother, and the individual who came to them in secret, who said, "Let's go worship another God." And it didn't need 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses, just needed that individual. And the reason for that is because that was done in secret and is based upon the relationship. Here, this is dealing with individuals who don't literally have a relationship with the individuals that are committing this. It mentioned a man and a woman. If you found out or heard or see that they have gone against the covenant, they transgressed the covenant, and they broke it by worshiping other Elohims, and they bowed down and to sun worship and all these sorts of things. He said, then do your diligence, go search it out. If you find out it's true, you need more than one witness to do this. We need someone else to verify it, right? To make sure, because it wasn't literally done in secret. They're doing it outwardly, okay? But you still need 2 witnesses, 2 to 3 witnesses, okay? It says that he may not be sentenced to death on the testimony of 1 witness. So how does this work and why is this important? This is important because that word witness or witnesses is the adim, okay? And the adim essentially is dealing with the eyes, the one who has visual observation. So the Most High is telling us that in order to be a witness, okay, is someone who has to visually make an observation of something, okay? I broke it down to how it's going to apply to us as being witnesses, okay, which is talking about for us to be study the Torah, be mindful of it, and also to look at our mindfulness about how we're living our lives, okay? Um, a witness is someone who's going to give testimony. So we're dealing with verbal communication. You do that through sharing information. Of course, I have the covenant and the Shema that we're supposed to recite. This is what you're supposed to know. I would always recommend, if you don't know the covenant, you need to read it every single day. Every day it needs to be spoken. Every day it needs to be read. Every day the Shema needs to be recited. Okay, it needs to be read or memorized. If you want to memorize it, memorize. If you don't, just read it. And sooner or later, it's going to come to you. Yahweh, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Wahavtayeth Yahweh Elohekad, V'kol Levavika, No V'kol Nafshka, No V'kol Meodika. And that's just saying that, hey, Israel, listen, Yahweh, our Elohim is one, and you're to love Yahweh with all your heart and with all your soul and all your might. Okay. The testimony too is about the judgments and the decrees that you and I are testifying to. So we're testifying to this, right? And then of course, the last part is the repetition, because part of being a witness is seeing something or doing something over and over and over again. Okay. So just by being a witness here, it means to see the door. That's what these 2 letters mean. The first letter is the I, and this letter right here, the Dalet, is the door. And so the door of the eye. And so what they were looking at was the tent of meeting. That's what this is talking about. This is called the Adim, which has to do with the Adut. And the Adut, okay, which you and I would call the testimonies. Okay, so the Adut is literally the covenant. That's the testimonies. And why is it called the testimony? Because they heard, they heard verbal communication from the Most High. Why are they a witness? Because they saw the fire from Yahweh. They heard, okay, the communication. All right. Repetition, going back and forth to go what? And Moshe kept going back and forth on behalf of the people as a repetition to go find out what the judgments and decrees are. So our job as witnesses is to be able to have our behaviors and our actions line up to what the Most High said. And this is sometimes poses some difficulty because we don't really understand why we're doing what we're doing. You really don't understand why you're doing it. But today, hopefully, you can see that the witnesses, when Yahweh's choosing to do judgment, right? And he's going to hold court, okay? Yah has to be able to call upon witnesses in order to what? Why do you call a witness? What's the reason?
To testify to something.
Yes, it's to testify. That's what it is to testify. So when he calls them to court to testify, we've been going over this before, the sun, moon, and the stars all testify. It says, and if you read in your Tehillim this week, your meditation, it talked about how the heavens are filled with Yahweh's glory, and the sun, moon, and the stars, they all speak. They all speak. Okay. They're Yah's witnesses, right? Remember, he said it could be two or three. It can't be one. So the Most High is using the children of Israel as a witness to testify. Okay. So the question is what are we supposed to testify by what we do? What are we testifying to?
All his words are true.
Thank you. All his words are true. And if all of his words are true, that means that he exists. If you and I are doing what Yahweh says, that says that you have told the world and everyone around you, including your family, Yahweh exists. See, I think we've been looking at this the wrong way. When people ask you, why do you do what you do? I'm testifying that Yahweh exists. We don't have to use the word witness because I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. You can say, I testify, I'm giving testimony or testifying to the fact that what he said is true and he exists. Because if what he said is true, that means that it has a source and it came from somewhere and from someone. So what we're doing, everyone, is we're the third witness. Do you understand? The heavens are the witness. The earth is the witness. And Yisrael is the witness. We're the three witnesses. You understand? That are part of when it comes to judgment. So remember, the Most High said, I'm not going to put to death anybody based on a testimony of one witness. I need two or three witnesses. But the two or three witnesses can't be hostile. They can't be hostile. Do you understand what this is going on? Look, I'll go back again. Do you not know that he said if you're going to be a witness to him? Yes, Mashal.
So this means that the witnesses cannot have any interest, personal interest in the case.
Thank you. The witnesses are viable. The witnesses they're not defective. They haven't been compromised. There's no falsehood in that witness. There's no like when he said if there's a witness that came against his brother and the witness was hostile, let happen to him what he wanted to happen to his brother. He's saying that you can't be like this. You can't be arrogant and prideful. You have to be okay with the decisions that are being made versus the person who's not okay with the person who goes beyond what Yahweh said. You can't be an idolater and be a witness to Yah. You cannot participate in any abominations that he said. And you cannot offer Yahweh anything that's defective. The defectiveness, the moon that was in the sacrifice, the defect, is y'all going to take a defective witness? No.
No.
Yah's not accepting nothing from listen, he's not accepting anything with a defect. He's telling us who he is. It is an abomination. So if he feels that way about an animal, he said, you can't present this animal to me. How does he know it's a defect? He knows. You and I have to burn these things away from us in order for us to be an effective and a viable witness. You can't be presumptuous. So if our plan was to be witnesses on the earth and to testify to what is true and testify to what Yahweh said and testify to, like Okoti had mentioned, said the truthfulness of what he said, testify that he exists by the way that we live our lives. And we do this over and over and over again. You testify to Yah's existence when you say that you keep the Shabbat, because you know what goes along with the Shabbat is I created the earth in 6 days. And on the 7th day, I rested and I blessed it. You're saying Yah created the earth in 6 days when you keep the Shabbat. You're saying he's the creator of the heavens and the earth. You're saying there's no one else with him who did that. You're saying, you understand, that he's the master of the universe. When you keep the appointed times, they're repetitions, they're over and over and over and over again. You're looking at it, it's coming up. You're looking at Yom Teruah. You're looking at Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. You're looking at Sukkot. You're going to be looking again towards Pesach. You're going to be looking towards the first fruits of Shavuot. You're going to acknowledge these things. The Torah portions is over and over and over and over and over and over again. You are becoming a viable witness. When you and I are talking about it right now, we're giving verbal communication and we're sharing information about what Yahweh has said. When you or I are on this earth, our job is to be viable witnesses. That's why we're here. This is the reason why Yah has shown us mercy. So he can have testimony, because he won't do it on one witness. You're part of the witness protection program. Yahweh has chosen for you to be a witness, to give testimony that Yah exists when that day comes. Because now that he has the witnesses in place, it means now that he can bring the judgment. And the judgment will be righteous, because we have testified that Yah was right. We testified to the diet. We testified to the no idols. We testified to don't touch anything impure. We testified. The Adim, the witnesses, are to be the first to stone him to death. Afterwards, all the people are to stone him. Thus, you will put an end to this wickedness, which is that presumptuousness, which is that contrariness, which is that going beyond what Most High has said. It's evidence. Our lives are evidence. We have to live credible lives. If you and I are going to be witnesses of Yah, you and I are going to have to be credible. We're going to be truthful. We're going to have some experience with what we saw, visual observation. We're going to be consistent in what we're saying and what we're talking about. We're not going to change the game up. We're going to be very temperate. And we also have to be confident when we're talking. We have confidence in what we're testifying to. Now, here's the scary part. Yes, Elder.
Yes, I just wanted to say, it's Azania, that, one of, where does it say, and gather yourselves together, O nation, right? And it talked about all you who have fulfilled his law, right? And so it's like, when I think of our people, the way that most of us came to this awakening from Deuteronomy 28, we saw that we fulfilled so much of the law written there. And that we learned through our history that all his words were true. And so I just wanted to say that. That's all. Todah.
Todah, praise Yahweh. The scary part, everyone, is this. Prior to this, you and I were false witnesses. Prior to you coming to the understanding of the Torah, you and I were not credible, because we were testifying to something else. So who wants to tell me what you used to testify to?
So idols.
Okay, give me a bit more specific. What testimony were you testifying to?
JC.
There you go, the New Testament. We
The
were
death,
huh?
burial,
Go
the
ahead.
death, burial, and resurrection.
That's what we used to testify to. We used to testify to another covenant. Moshe said that Yahweh is going to send someone like me. That means Kamoni. Like me. How was Moshe? He was humble. Listen, what was he like? What was Moshe like? Was Moshe credible? Was he truthful? He was consistent? Yes, he was. He messed up. He messed up one time, but other than that, there's nothing else about him. You understand? So to be like Kimmy saying that Yahweh's going to raise up a prophet, okay? Not the prophet, not a definite article in front of it say this prophet, a prophet. But there was something that we had said that he reminded us about. He said, don't let me hear the voice of Yahweh, my Elohim anymore. This is what the children of Israel said. And let me see this great fire ever again. Do you see the theme, the fire? They don't want to hear Yah's voice that they heard. They don't want to see that great fire. So in the idea of hearing and seeing is giving testimony. That's why you became a witness. You heard and saw. Okay? So Yahweh Elohim anymore, or let me see this great fire. Again, they don't want to see this fire because when Yahweh speaks, the voice of Yahweh is coming out of a great fire. So when it talks about Yah bringing judgment and he's coming and he says that he's going to come in fire and he's going to use fire, which is the sun. He's using the sun. When he brings this great fire, okay, that is Yah speaking. And when he says he's going to do this, he said, otherwise he said, if we do this, then if I do, I'll die. Yah says what they said was great. This is the best thing they've ever said. You know, and then they asked for a prophet. They asked Yahweh for a prophet. Told Moshe, why don't you go? Okay. Within this, we need to understand when Moshe is talking about a Navi, which is a prophet. That's what a Navi is. Okay. A Navi is a prophet, and the prophet is one who has a seed inside. And that is found within the word Navi. So the letter Nun right here is this letter N. This letter Bet right here, or Bait right here, is this V sound. Okay. The Nun right here is the seed. Okay. The Bet right here is inside. Okay. So it's the seed inside. That's what it means. These two letters mean seed inside. Okay. So when the seed is inside, so Yahweh is saying that my words are like a seed. So what he said, whoever doesn't listen to my words, which is the seed that I'm going to plant, which he will speak, who's going to speak? The prophet, the Navi, is going to talk about what Yah has said. He said, in my name. He will have to account for himself to me. Okay. Now, this is not something that's just only exclusive to their time. Yah is saying, whoever doesn't listen to my words, okay, in which he will speak in my name, he will have to account for himself to me. So instead of you taking what the prophet had said, you go ahead and you presume upon what you want to say. See? So we got to be careful because there's some prophets that are mentioned. But more, the Most High has given us a safeguard about these words. And the safeguard is in my name. Okay? That's what his name. His name is attached. There's also a prophet that does speak in his name, and he's not who Yah sent. So there's one who speaks in Yah's name and is good. There's another one who speaks in Yahweh's name and is not good. So how do you tell the difference? We're going to go over that in a second. Okay. So basically, though, the prophet is the one who's going to come and give you a seed, which is Yahweh's word. He has it inside of him. Yah has planted. We often hear about people, and I'm not going to name any names, but you've heard them before that say that they're prophets. You hear individuals that live among you that are claiming to be prophets. They are liars. Okay, so let me explain without being rude. All because we recite or regurgitate or say words that prophets has said before doesn't make you a prophet. You're not a prophet. Okay, the seed was not inside of you that was hidden, because what you and I are talking about, okay, was not given to us directly from Yah. These individuals, both male and female, because they have prophets and prophetess, they're family members. Yah would give them a seed, and we know that it takes time for a seed to develop. So often the Most High would give them a plant a seed by speaking his words, and then when that word would come to pass, then you would know that Yah has sent that person. Okay. So that's what a prophet is. Okay. Now, a authentic prophet, okay, that Yahweh has chosen, and there hasn't been a prophet since. And I can show you scripture that says there won't be no prophets while you're in your exile. There's no need. Yah's not giving out any additional information. He's already told us what it's going to be. Okay. The prophet, the true prophet, is going to be the one who has identified the authority in which they speak in, which has to do with Yahweh's name. Not just Yahweh's reputation, because this is what you hear a lot of people say, oh, the name means reputation. But in context, the Most High uses his name over and over and over again in chapter number 18, while he's discussing this teaching about his name. Okay. So you have to identify the authority in which a person is prophesying in. Okay. The second thing is that this individual, the qualification for them, they have to be a blood relative of Yisrael, because that's who Yisrael chose. Like Moshe, they chose him. They want him to go. Most High said, great, I'm going to raise up somebody like you after them. And that means a prophet, meaning it could be anyone. It could be Isaiah, it could be Ezekiel, it could be Jeremiah, it could be whoever it may be. Malachi could be whoever it may be. But they still have to have these qualifications. They have to be able to say what Yahweh has said using his authority, which is his name. They have to be of a blood relative from the tribes of Israel. They'd have to also be humble, and they have to be obedient, and they have to use clarity when they're talking. And of course, boldness is part of it, right? Here is a prophet that the world has come to know. Mashal.
Yes.
Can you read this for us, please? I know you don't want to, but I just want you to read it.
Sure. Righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you. These people have known you that sent me. I made your name known to them, and I will continue to make it known, so that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I myself may be united with them.
Where do you think this comes from, Mashal? Are these words in the Torah?
That's words from the prophet. From
What prophet?
No, they're not.
Dawid, tell us who.
No, that comes from the New Testament. The words of the one they call Jesus or Jesus or whatever the name is.
Coming from the New Testament, John 17.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My mistake. These words sound like the words of JC.
Yeah. So it is. These are the words of JC. So this is what's written in Sister Pam had brought it out in John 17, which is a prayer. And so what's the first problem that you see? Anybody? What's the first problem that you see?
He never came in his name. He never mentioned it. He was kind of ambiguous. He just used strange, like father or something like that. He never used his name.
There you go. So he said righteous father. So he never gives his name. right? He says, the world has not known you, but I have known you. And these people have not, these people have known that you sent me. I made your name known to them. So this is what you should remember, everyone, to go ask anybody who reads the new testimonies, ask them, where did this prophet called JC or Jesus or whatever his name is, Yeshua or whatever his name is, ask them, where did he ever mention or make known his name to the people?
He never, not once.
Never. Not one time has he.
The first thing I notice in this thing is him saying, "Righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you." Like he's telling everyone, you don't know him. I know him, so you got to know me in order to know him.
Ooh, good job. Yeah. So there is, so how many times in what they would call the new testimonies do you find Yahweh's name? The tetragrammaton, the YHWH, the Yahweh. Where, how many times do you find it?
0.
0. I don't know if you guys know the number, but in what they call the Tanakh, it's over 6,828 times. So why is it mentioned 6,828 times in the Torah, the prophets, and the writings? But in the New Testament with the new God, you have 0 times that Yahweh's name is not mentioned.
Because his father is not YHWH.
His father's not YHWH.
Yes.
So what he's done, okay, and this is what we used to be part of, we went outside of the guidelines. This is the reason why the Most High has put a safeguard inside of the Torah in order to protect us from this, because he knew this was coming. Do you get it? Like he's telling them, this is my name. This person has to come to my name. They have to say that it's in my name. They have to say they came true. Okay. Now it says, you may be wondering, how are we to know if a word has not been spoken by Yahweh? That's all of our question. And it was theirs back then. When a prophet speaks in the name of YHWH and the prediction does not come true, that is the word, that seed, that word is not fulfilled. Yahweh did not speak that word. The prophet who said it spoke it presumptuously, and you have nothing to fear of him. So going back to the idea of what we learned in our Torah this week. Yes, Michelle.
And the judgment for that person was to be death.
Yes, absolutely. So remember, we've been talking about the presumptuous. See, that's what we've been talking about. So why is it that Christ or Yeshua or JC or Jesus, why is he considered to be presumptuous?
He's arrogant for one.
Yes, very arrogant. I know him. Nobody's ever heard his voice. That's a lie. But also, too, the presumptuousness is saying that everything he said did not come true. So when they talk about the book of Matthew and chapter number 28 or 24, it talks about he predicted that the Jerusalem will be destroyed. That was written way after he died. So they could have wrote that in. They filled that in. What prophecy did he ever say it came true? What does he say that came true?
Not one.
Nothing. Okay. So this is the testimony. So he said, you have nothing. Yes, Kel.
I think what gives him the, I guess, integrity in the New Testament is that he claimed that he was going to be resurrected or come back from the dead, and that's what happened. So that's why they believe what he says.
When did they write that?
I guess they didn't write it, but I guess him coming back from the dead, or the people that would testify around that time, or the books that were written about that, gave him that integrity. So that's why they hold him in such, like, on a pedestal.
Yeah, but what books were written? What other books besides the New Testament verify? What other historians or anyone else testified to the fact that he raised from the dead?
There is none. It's just the New Testament.
Okay, so when was the New Testament written? How many years after he died?
I think it was like 300 years.
No, about 150. So 150 years have gone by, and then they write all this stuff out. Right?
Yeah, but also, have you ever seen that Caesar's Messiah documentary?
What's the question, Bruce?
Have you ever seen Caesar's Messiah documentary?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, because these guys researched like 10 years, and apparently JC, the story of JC just never ever existed. It's all made up. The Romans made it up to deceive people, right? Because when you think about it, now that we've come out of that, and the Old Testament speaks so strictly, the original Testament, whatever you want to call it, speaks so strictly about not worshiping false idols. And JC would never have been worshipped if they didn't have so much mysteries and so much like magical things happening, and all these eyewitnesses that quote unquote record all that they see, which is all made up. So that's the reason why people are following. It was like, oh, I can walk on water, I can raise the dead, I can heal the sick. That's so cool. That gotta be God. That gotta be, you know what I mean? It's just is wild. And like I don't even think any of it ever even existed. I think it's all plotted deception.
Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're instructed that because of this prophet, this false prophet, this presumptuous prophet, nothing's ever come to pass. Don't be afraid, don't listen to, and they're going to get the death penalty. And that's exactly what happened. So you have nothing to be afraid of that in particular prophet. Okay, because he's a false prophet. Okay. But here's something else that's written in the New Testimony of John, right? Was the disciple of YHWH, because that's his name. Yes, indeed, I tell you that whoever trusts in me will also do the works I do. And indeed, he will do greater ones because I'm going to the Father. Never mention Yahweh's name. In fact, whatever you ask in my name, I will do, so that the Father might be glorified in the Son. If you ask me for something in my name. So again, you see that he's not promoting Yahweh. He's self-promoting himself. This is the reason why Yah's name is not ever mentioned in the New Testament. Is Christ's name? Did he tell you what his name was? Did any of the apostles ever mention Yah's name?
No.
Never.
So if
No.
if Christ made his name known to all of them, and he's making his name known to the world, like he said, he's going to continue to make it known. Why isn't it known today? Why do people not know Yahweh's name? Why don't they know who he is? Why don't they know his character? Because of him. Because they put their trust in him. They put their everything in him. Ask in his name. Ask anything in his name. Ask for something. Ask for anything, and you'll be able to do great stuff because of I'm going to the Father, because you trust in me. And also the works that I do. You see, so it's about miracles. Remember, we talked about last week in Deuteronomy 13. He said that this prophet can be able to do things and miracles to come to pass. And they'll try to get you to go on a whole nother way. And that's exactly what happened. Hopefully you can see this. That's the New Testimony. And that whole New Testament is about presumptuousness. Okay? It's all about presumption. Finally, let's talk about Tamim. Tamim is about being mature. And I think this is the best part of our study today. In Deuteronomy chapter number 18, it tells us that we must be wholehearted with Yahweh, our Elohim. When I read this, the first thing that came to my mind was what the Most High told Abraham. Because it was the exact same word that was mentioned. It said when Abraham was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai, the Almighty. walk in my presence and be pure hearted. That word pure hearted is to be tamim. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will increase your numbers greatly. So tamim is to be wholehearted with the Most High, is to be mature. But also too, it has a lot of other extended meanings. Okay. Maturity and wholeness. That means that the individual that is walking with Yah has to come to a point in their life where they have fulfillment. Okay. They have to be completed and they have to be blameless. He says, be perfect, because, right? Because they say here, pure hearted, but in some other translations, it says, be perfect and to be blameless. And one may ask, well, remember, no one's perfect. That's not true. That's not true at all. One can still be blameless and perfect and still make shagagas. They can still make errors. Okay. They sure can. A mum is different than a shagaga. A mum is a defect. Okay. And some things that have a defect and it cannot be redeemed. That means it cannot be used, like the animals. Just like the people who were doing witchcraft and all these other things. If you read in your Torah, it said that these people, Most High said, when you go in, more or less talking about the laws of war. I didn't have a slide for it, but I remember what it said. It said, when you go into a city, try to present shalom to it. He said, if they refuse, then you go in and you wipe everybody out. Okay. He said, if they accept, you bring them all out, you let them live, they become your forced laborers. They work for you at that moment. Okay. Then after he finished saying that, wipe them out, all the males, not just the females, or not the females, but the males. Wipe all the males out, but let the little ones and the women stay alive. And these were in cities that were outside of Israel and outside of the land of Canaan. They were far away, who tried to make war against Israel. He said, but with the other nations, the Ka'anini, the Kiti, the Yavusi, the Ka'anini, the Emri, and all these other ones that I told you were going there to displace them, you're not going to let any of them live. Nothing alive, not animals, nothing. Nothing's going to be alive. Why? Because there are sometimes, you guys, there is no redemption for certain things. Just like you can't offer Yahweh something with a mum in it or defect, you cannot offer that to him. He will not accept it. Some people are just going to be destroyed. And that's what it is. So the practices of sorcery, witchcraft, and spiritists, when they were going to the mumblers, and it said the people, and it describes one of the Hebrew words as being somebody, a babbler, when they're going, and they talk like that, which you and I are familiar with tongues and seeking answers through the spirit world. We were participants of that. We weren't faithful witnesses to Yah. Okay. But Yah, in his mercy and in his kindness, has decided not to destroy us. These other people in the land of Canaan, he was bent on destroying them. There was no redemption for them. So the idea that Yah is going to redeem everybody is not true. There's some people that are just not going to make it. Okay. The individuals that are going to make it, okay, it's not because they had made a mistake, okay, or they're not going to make it because they had a mistake, so they weren't perfect, so he's going to destroy them. It doesn't work like that. What he's asking for, everyone, is for us to become mature. And I have here in bold, to be finished. Okay. The promise that the Most High made to our father was based upon his maturity. He went to him when he was 99 years old. So we know that if he went to a 99-year-old man to tell him that this is how I want you to walk before me, this is how I want you to live before me, he's telling him that you have to come to the end of yourself. Abraham began to walk with Yah when he was 75 years old. Now he's 99 years old. It's like 24 years later. So at the time of his 24 years later, the Most High appeared to him and said, hey, I'm El Shaddai. Walk in my presence and be wholehearted, or be pure-hearted, or be tamim, or be perfect, or be blameless. Right? So this is an expectation. So, and then I'll make my covenant with you, right? Between me and you, and I will increase your numbers, talking about his descendants. So all this is based on what he was able to accomplish. And it took time. Just like you see in this photo of him being older, right? So Most High is not looking at something that's fresh out the gate that has no experience. He's looking for us to have some experiences. He's looking for us to make some mistakes, but he wants us to learn from our mistakes. This is how we become mature, is learning from our shagagas, from our errors. When Yah points out to us what the problems are, we need to address those areas. Or are we going to continue to be hard-headed like me? And we're going to do things to ourselves, and we're going to put ourselves in positions, and you're going to pay the price. Some things are just not going to be redeemable. That's my point. Okay? But we have to be finished within ourselves. We have to find our fulfillment in Yah, and is what he promised. This is the only reason why Yah has made a covenant of land to increase and to give land and descendants, because of this man's maturity and because he accomplished this. And we see this in
Is anyone talking? I can't hear nothing.
Yeah, I don't hear anything either.
Me either.
I think he lost connection.
Yeah, it looks like it's buffering.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can hear you now.
We can hear you now.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going in and out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It just cut off. Let's see here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, good. I'm sorry. I apologize. So basically, what he's saying to us is Yah's looking for us to become Tamim. He's looking for us to be finished with ourselves. When you and I become finished with ourselves, and we find our fulfillment in Him, that's when you and I are going to realize this covenant. That's when we're going to get our land, and that's when you and I, our numbers are going to increase. That's when that's going to happen. Okay, and so this is the reason why He tells us that we are not to pursue any other way to try to communicate with the Most High, because this is about communication. Okay, this is how we're going to get back to Yah. Yes.
Is this referring to the covenant that he'll make with us in the wilderness when we were brought back in the second time?
Well, no, this one here says, okay, so there's several covenants, right? So this covenant right here that I'm talking about, that he mentioned to our father, who is our example of being Tamim, is telling us, in order for you to get this one here about going into the land, to be able to get the next one about an everlasting covenant, that's all part of it. So if you want to go back, because this is something he swore to our father. He said, with me and you, and I will increase your numbers. And then he also verifies and says, I'm going to give this to your descendants after you. So we're connected to the Most High. What I'm talking about is, if you and I are going to come to a point of maturity, right? We're going to have to go and do what our father did. We're going to have to be fulfilled in Yah. We're going to make mistakes, but we got to live a certain way, and we have to be finished with ourselves, and we have to be about what he wants us to be about. That's what this is about. Maturity is coming to an end, and it's coming to an end of ourselves, just like a fruit on a tree. It's growing and it's growing and it's growing, and then finally it comes to its end. It's finished. It's complete. It's gone through its cycle. Then after it goes through its cycle, then it's ready. You understand what I'm saying? Like the Most High said when he goes into the vineyard and he finds some grapes, and the grapes have juice in it. And he said, well, save this one because there's juice in this one. This other one doesn't have any juice. So let's save this one because it has a blessing in it. Talking about the grapes and talking about grape harvest, what points to Sukkot, because that's the ingathering of the fruit. That's the time when you see if the fruit is ready to be harvested. in order to celebrate, to come together and congregate with the Most High. So here, this is making reference to what type of life, because when I said that, I was reminded of Abraham because that's what he said to him. But in our Torah portion, he said, you must be Tamim with Yahweh. And this is speaking to how we don't supposed to seek any other Elohim in context. Verses 1 through 9, 7 through 9, talks about how they were going to these other gods and how they were going to these sorcerers, how they were going to diviners, how they were going to the people doing omens, how they were going to the prognosticators. He said, you must be wholehearted. You don't supposed to be this way with Yahweh. You have to be Tamim with Yahweh. And the reason why you're going to be Tamim is because you asked for the prophet. You want to communicate with Yahweh, but it's how you communicate with the Most High. Prophets are there to communicate to you on behalf of Yahweh, but it's also for you to communicate to Yahweh. So the prophet would do the job of going talk to the person and tell him what Yahweh said. And also the prophet would be the one that they would call and say, go ask Yahweh. Remember how the kings would go ask the prophet Isaiah, hey, go ask the Most High, go ask Yahweh. Yahweh would send Isaiah to go talk to the king. The king will send Yahweh to go talk to, or send the prophet to go talk to Yah. The prophet is a picture of the servant of Yahweh. They're testifying on our behalf. You see? So, speaking of that, this prophet YHWH says, yes, I am the one who comforts you. He's speaking to the children of Israel, okay, more specifically Judah, to tell them, I am the one who comforts you. Why are you afraid of a man who must die? This was in your Haftarah, chapter 51, verse 12. What is the connection between what we just read about these prophets? Yah is letting us know, don't be afraid of a man. Well, what are you talking about being afraid of a man? You think he's just talking about him killing a man, or a man killing you, or doing something to, or oppressing you? No, he's talking about the person who gave you the knowledge that said, if you don't believe in me, you're going to hell. The one that said, if you don't believe that I am he, then you don't know the Father. See, because they're trying to get you to forget about Yah. Being afraid of a man is being afraid of a false prophet, about what he said, the portents that they said, their omens that they said. Just like the people that were in that land were telling people, they were making decisions based on what these sorcerers and these warlocks and witches were saying. That's why they were killing their kids. They were burning their sons and daughters up. They were doing child sacrifice. You guys don't want us to listen to them because everything that they represent, he's against. He's against them. Yah has relationships with nations. We think we're the only people he has a relationship with. Or well, let me correct myself. Yah has expectations. Okay, he doesn't have an intimate relationship with them like he has with us, but he does have expectations. In the book of Jeremiah and also in the book of Ezekiel, he talks about the nations. And he says that, there's a time where I said I was going to build up a nation. And, and there was a time when I said I was going to destroy a nation. But if they would repent, like he did with Jonah, Yah has expectations of even the nations. See? So what's my point of mentioning that? Well, my point is that Yahweh has expectations. And what he expects from us, he eventually will expect from them. We are the example. Yah has shown what is going to happen to those who are presumptuous against the Most High. He has shown those who have gone outside of the boundaries of what he has spoken, what's going to happen. We're the Zood, we're the Zeed, we're the presumptuous, we're the ones boiling over, we're the arrogant, we're the cocky, we're all that. And that's the reason why he sent us to the four corners of the earth, because we went outside of our boundaries, what he said. So why, since you go on outside of the boundaries of what I laid out, I'm going to put you outside of your boundaries, which is your borders. That's the judgment. That's part of it for us. Yes, I am the one who comforts you. Now he's talking about what he's going to do for us. Why are you afraid of a man who must die? Just like the one that you and I used to believe in. Matter of fact, the Most High never asked you and I to believe anything. He never asked us to believe. If you go back to what he said to the prophets, he didn't say, well, if you believe that I sent him, he said, if it comes to pass, you know I said it. If it doesn't come to pass, you know I didn't say it. So what is he saying? He's saying that if it doesn't exist, then I didn't say it. So there's nothing to testify to. If it does exist, like you and I are testifying to him, his existence, we're giving testimony to that by the way we live our lives. So whatever it is the prophet is supposed to speak, if it comes to pass, then Yah says I said it because it exists. So why are you afraid of a man? Why were you afraid of JC? Why are you afraid of what Paul said in Peter and James and John? What I mean, everyone, is like I used to be stuck. Like if I give up what they talk about, then I'm going to die and I'm going to go to hell. I'm giving up eternal life to go back to the Torah. I'm giving up so many different things. I'm giving up salvation. It was free. And all I need to do is believe versus me being held responsible and accountable to the Most High for what has been spoken. You understand? So human beings will hit the dirt just like that Messiah did. Okay? And they're going to wither just like grass. That means that they're not going to continue. The only thing that is going to continue is the Most High. He says this, you have forgotten Yahweh. Why? Because you're focused on the man. You're afraid of a man. You're afraid of who they told you that died for you. You're afraid of what he said. He gave you the threat. Yah has never mentioned hell to us, has he? Has he ever, did Moshe ever mention hell? Somebody, no. Did he ever tell you if you don't believe you're going to hell?
Nope.
No. Has he told did King David ever say anything like that?
No.
Any of the prophets ever mentioned that if you don't believe, you go to hell?
No.
So what it is we've put our confidence in a man. We've taken the testimony of a man. And that's the problem. We've taken the testimony of people who have died and moved on and have been put in the dirt. And the people that have withered like grass. We're taking the testimony of people that, you know, that are worthless. And we have forgotten Yahweh. So Yahweh does not want us to forget him. And the way that we forget him is by focusing on men and women and other people that are speaking to us. We have forgotten our maker. He's telling us that we have forgotten. Is it true? If he's saying it is true. He said, who has stretched out the heavens and laid the foundation of the earth. Why is this important? Why does he keep saying your maker who stretched out? So just like he stretched out the heavens and the earth, he made you too. If they're performing what he wants them to do and they're under a law, so are you. Are they testifying to the fact that Yahweh is Elohim? Yes, they are. Are you? That's the question. Yes, Mashal.
The Most High mentions it, reiterates all these things because as humans, we have a finite mind and we tend to forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we have other stuff going on. And he's saying, like, okay, if you're going to look, everyone, if we forgot, yeah, he said you forgot me. That means that you're not testifying that he's the maker. You're not testifying who stretched out the heavens and the earth when we weren't. Yes, Michelle.
No, that I forgot to put my hand back down.
That's okay. So, what is he telling us? I don't want you to forget me. I am the one. I'm the one who's going to comfort you. Has Christ comforted anybody that you know?
Yeah. He comforted those.
I mean,
yeah, he comforted those guys when he washed their feet and dried it with the towel.
Oh, but he was naked.
Yeah.
And they were naked. Okay, I got you. I got a whole nother scene there. Everybody was naked, getting bathed. I got you. So he's telling us, I'm the one who comforts you. And that's what he wants us to know from the Haftarah. Okay. Therefore, my people will know my name. Therefore, on that day, they will know that I, the one speaking, here I am. That was in your Haftarah. So why is he saying this? Why is he saying, therefore my people will know my name? What does he mean? Why does it have to take this day in order for his people to know his name?
I guess because on that day they're going to see what he said was gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Good. All right. So where Sister Sharon,
Yes.
can you go to Exodus chapter number 20?
Okay.
It's the first word that Yahweh says to the children of Israel, part of the covenant. Just the first word. That he said,
And I am YHWH thy God, which has brought thee out of the land of Egypt. That part.
yes. In Hebrew, it says, Ki Anoki, Anoki Yahweh Eloheka. So the first time that he spoke to the children of Israel as a whole, when he spoke to us, he spoke to them, and the first thing he gives them is his name. That's the first thing he gives, is his name. Ayanoki Yahweh Eloheka. He introduces himself to them. That's the first word of the covenant. This is the reason why you need to read it every day, because it's going to become real to you. Okay, so I am Yahweh, Anoki Yahweh Eloheka, Asherti Hotzitika. I'm the one who brought you out. I'm the one who caused you to come out. So when he says, therefore my people will know my name, because they have forgotten my name. So he's going to speak his name on that day, and they will know that I, the one, is speaking. Here I am. Just like they knew when he spoke to them the first time. Hopefully you can see this. Okay. So the revealing and the revelation of his name is going to be declared by himself. And the word is going to be the covenant. And it's going to come out of fire, like it did when he spoke to us the first time. And that was the name and the words that they heard. That was the fire that they saw and the voice that they heard, and was thunder and lightning and torches of fire. And they were terrified. And they say, well, if we continue to hear this and see this, we're going to die. What other people have ever heard and the voice of Elohim speaking out of this great fire as we have and stayed alive? And the answer to that is no one. Yah's promise to you and I about comforting us is this. Yah says, I'm going to return himself. You're not waiting on a Messiah. You're not waiting on King David. You're not waiting on an angel. You're not waiting on anybody. Okay? He's going to return. He himself is going to return. Okay? Second, he's going to release his people from their captivity. Okay? And the return of Yah is going to be by the arm of Yah. What is the arm of Yah? When did Yah first reveal his arm to Israel?
When he delivered them?
He delivered them from out of Egypt.
In the land of
That's the
Egypt.
first time he Yep. And he's going to reveal his arm again. That's how he's going to reveal. Yah's arm being revealed has to do with Yah comforting his people. Okay. And when he releases his people, they're going to be comforted. Yahweh is going to be proclaimed as king when this happens. Okay. The world will witness. The whole world is going to witness this. That's what it says in chapter number 52. The whole entire planet is going to witness Yah's coming and proclamation. And then, of course, after he does what he has to do, we're all going to be overjoyed. We're going to be overwhelmed with joy. And he'll establish us as the chief of nations. That's the comfort of Yahweh's people. So my question is this. When the New Testament talks about the arm of Yahweh has been revealed, has it been revealed? Has Yah released his people? They live in comfort after Christ came? Yeah, right. Was Yahweh proclaimed as king?
Nope.
Nope. Does the world know Yahweh and know his name and his laws, his statutes, and commandments, like Isaiah chapter number 2 says they are?
Nope.
That ain't never happened, has it?
Never.
Everything I mentioned, I keep asking, did it happen, Dawid? And you keep saying no. So obviously that word has not come to pass, has it? Oh, that was right. Then Yahweh didn't speak that word, did he? So when someone says it hasn't happened yet, then guess what you say? Then Yah didn't speak that word. You only know that Yah spoke something when it happens. This is the reason why he said, therefore my people will know. They will know my name. And often in a lot of other places he said, then they will know. When? After it comes to pass. So Yah's not asking you to believe anything. He actually wants you to know it. He doesn't want you to believe it. He actually wants you to see it. Like they saw his fire and they saw his and they heard his voice. He wants us to see something and he wants us to hear something. Why are you afraid of a man who must die? He's telling, why are you afraid of a man? Here's your Torah, your Haftarah, and your Tehillim, and your meditation. Write it down. Anyone have any questions? Your Uviarta, your meditation is Uviarta. That's the only word I want you to learn. Uviarta. You are to burn away from anything that's near you. That is Uviarta. Anything that needs to be burned away needs to be burned away. You need to get it away from you. You don't want anything next to you or close to you that's going to be offensive to the Most High Yah. We don't get to pick and choose what we think is going to be good. He's already stipulated what it is. He's already told us what it is. He wants us to be fair. He wants us to be just. He wants us to be truthful. He wants us to follow the covenant. Okay. He wants us to honor our parents. He wants us not to steal, to lie, to commit adultery. Yes, Gail.
Yeah, I did have a question. Just when I was talking about the covenant earlier, you're talking about the covenant he made with Avram, and then there's the other covenant that he's going to make with us in the wilderness. So it's like I just want to make sure that I'm thinking right. It's all the covenants that he's made with us up until this point are compounding and are going to be fulfilled in that time.
Yes. Yes. So he won't make an everlasting covenant with us until we have met in the maturity of the first covenant that we're supposed to, because he said, you're going to teach your children to be this way, and they're always to guard what I said, right? And so Abraham did that, and then when it came to the children of Jacob, they fell off, right? They didn't do it. And then when you have the tribes of Israel, some of them did a little bit, and then others didn't. And there's been all these problems ever since then. So we haven't fully come to what they call maturation. We haven't come to maturity. And this is the reason why we're not in our land. Okay? Because when we were there, we weren't perfect and wholehearted with Yah. And so he's using this opportunity to find out who is going to desire to want to come to this place of being mature with him so they can inherit what he promised our fathers. And as a result of that, we have to get rid of the things that are around us. So yeah, we might not be in our community. We might not have our judges and our judge from a community standpoint, but we do have Yahweh. Yah is the righteous judge. Yeah, we may not have a king, but there is a king. His name is Yahweh. See, so Yah has removed everything away from us in order to bring to our attention what the issues are and what the problems are. And he's dealing with us. He's showing us mercy and he's showing us kindness. He's not blessing us. He's showing us mercy and he's showing us kindness. That's what this is. He's not holding me responsible for my father's transgressions. He's saying you're responsible for your own. That's what he does. I'm not going to punish your father for you, and I'm not going to punish you for your father. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. So if you want to follow the Most High, follow him. If you don't, you don't. That's what it is. Yes.
Also, when you were talking about the three witnesses, so you're talking about us as a witness, when we reach that maturation, and then the heaven and the sun as a witness. So I'm trying to picture that that day. Like, so when someone is supposed to be judged, what does that courtroom look like? And like when we all come together to judge one person.
Well, it's not us judging, it's the Most High. It says that he's a righteous judge. So what it is, when the Most High calls to, there has to be testimony, right? So he gives us the example of you can't just judge someone based off of one witness. You need 2 to 3 witnesses. Okay. So what we understand is that the heavens is a witness and the earth is a witness, right? So Moses tells us, I don't have a slide for it, but it's also too where he, I think it was a week or two ago in a Torah portion, he says, I call on heaven and earth to witness against you. So the heavens is a witness, the earth is a witness, and the Most High tells us in the book of Isaiah that you are my witnesses, because we've actually can testify that Yah exists. We're the only ones he's ever revealed himself to. He hasn't revealed himself to any other people. He only knows us. We're the only people who's ever heard his voice. We're the only people that's ever saw the fire. We're the only people that he's taken out of a nation of another nation. We're the only people that he's destroyed other nations on our behalf. We're the only nation of people that he went and he unalived other people for us. He said, I give lives for you. That's in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 43, I believe. He says, I've given lives for you. I've destroyed people for you, nations. He'll drop a nation for us. You understand? So, but why we're the witness on this earth. So we are supposed to testify to Yah's existence. That's our job. And when we stopped testifying, we started getting into idolatry. We were no longer we're not a viable witness, right? So when Yah's holding court, he's only going to call those who can testify to, because judgment is going to take place. And when judgment, he's going to use us. Sometimes witnesses are like, were you there? Yes, I was. Did you see it? Yes, I saw it. So he's saying, I have a right to judge. He has enough witnesses now. He's not going to judge just arbitrarily. Everything is systematic with the Most High. His righteous judgment has to be based on righteous witnesses. So the sun is the heavens is a witness, and everything in them they testify, which we can see that in Psalms 19. We see the earth as a witness. Moshe said that she's going to witness against you too. Okay. And then you and I are witnesses. We're the third witness that was supposed to be here to testify to the earth about what we understand and what we know. See? But now these witnesses are used in order to validate the testimony. The testimony is this. Yah spoke to us and he gave us his words, and they were put in that gold box. You and I have to give testimony to that, which they would call the covenant, the adut, the testimonies of Yahweh. So the New Testament is not testifying to those testimonies. Christians are not testifying to those testimonies. Muslims are not testifying to those testimonies. No one else on this earth is testifying to those testimonies except for the children of Israel and those who join themselves with them. That's where Most High said, if you're a stranger, don't say I'm a foreigner and stranger. If you take hold of my covenant, which I do, take hold of it. Hold fast to it and love me and do what I ask you to do and keep my Shabbats. That is what he says. So we are the third witness. That's who you are. You're keeping the Moedim. You're keeping the Shabbat. You understand what it is. You're keeping the diet. You're doing the best that you possibly can. You're testifying that Yah exists. Your very presence today proves that Yahweh exists. You're testifying. And there is a record book that is being written about you, about what your acts and your deeds are. All of what we do is recorded, and that's what we didn't know. We don't want it to be recorded. We want it to be wiped out so all the things that we did can be wiped away and it will be never brought up. No. So if the Most High brings us to court, which he will, and there's other places in the text that talks about when Yahweh brings us to court, like Dawidi said, we're going to be found to be guilty. This is the reason why we need your mercy. Because if he was to look at my life and what was recorded in my life, he just has to turn back a couple of pages. And he would see that I participated in the pagan worship of Christmas and Easter. And there's photos I got photo albums. I got pictures that show that. I have too much evidence against me. So what do I do when I know that I'm guilty? And we're all guilty. We all deserve to be unalived and to be done with. But Yah is merciful. So when it comes to that time, I qualify. I'm trying to put myself in a position of at least attempt to qualify to receive Yah's mercy, to receive his compassion. Because I broke the covenant. If you can't say that and you don't want to admit and confess that, then you don't understand who Yahweh is. But if you do, you say, you know what? I'm going to live my life and I'm going to do what I can to testify to this. You appear in court, you're going to need Yah's mercy. That's what we need. We need Yah's kindness. And this is why he told us, he told Moshe, Sister Sharon, are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Exodus 34:6, please. 6 and 7, please. Exodus chapter number 34, verse 6 and 7. What does he tell us?
Says, and this is a different version, but it says, and the Lord passed by before his face and proclaimed. What?
Continue.
The Lord passed and proclaimed, the Lord God, pitiful and merciful, long-suffering and very compassionate and true, and keeping justice and mercy for thousands, taking away iniquity and unrighteousness and sins. And he will not clear the guilty, bringing the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and to the children's children, to the third and fourth generation.
So he's merciful, he's compassionate, he forgives sins and crimes. He will not acquit the guilty. He will forgive us. He will show he's full of compassion. That's the reason why he said it revealed his the Lord, but his name is YHWH. Right there, the Tetragrammaton was revealed when he gave the second order of the covenant, the Mishnah. The second time that he wrote it out, because the first time we broke it, the second time he writes a second copy, and when he gives that second copy, he tells Moshe those words. When Yahweh passed by Moshe, he said those words. So he was thinking about you and I. He was thinking about the thousands of generations that love Yahweh and they're going to keep his commandments. He's thinking about the mercy and the compassion that's going to be needed in order to save the children of Israel. That's the reason why he revealed his name. That's the reason why he's telling us if someone said anything in my name, even if you said something in my name that's not true, I'm going to hold you responsible. The person that said something in my name and didn't come to pass, I'm killing them. The person that I did sin and you guys didn't listen to, I'm going to hold you responsible for what you did here that you didn't pay attention to. But he's merciful and he's compassionate. He's forgiving crimes and sins. So the crimes and the sins of breaking Yah's laws and the Shabbats, and how many Passovers did I break? How many Shabbats did I break? How many meals of uncleanness did I eat? How many things, how many thoughts, how many times arrogance and pride? How many times was I foolish and reluctant and hostile towards the Most High? Hostile towards change, hostile towards saying that this is his covenant. Well, I didn't know that. This was the way I was raised. I don't have no idea. Then the world can't stand, then they won't be guilty. Then the Most High is a lie. See? So the individual who claims and knows the truth about themselves would say the truth. Now, I want to hear anybody that don't understand this or who thinks that they're not guilty, please say so right now. If you are guilty, I want you to unmute your phone and say, I'm guilty. Do it right now.
I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
Guilty.
I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
All right, put your hands together for Yahweh. Praise him. Put your hands together and clap and thank him because he's merciful. He wants us to know that the only reason why You're going to be able to exist is because I'm merciful. Yes, Kale. Kale?
Sorry, I meant to clap, not raise my hand.
We need to clap. Does everyone understand that? We need to clap. We need to be thankful. That's what we need. We're guilty. You get it? Ain't nobody on this channel or doing right now or is innocent. We're all guilty. We're guilty. You looking on YouTube, you're guilty. Stop acting like you're not. You're guilty. Yahweh will forgive us. We haven't been told. You understand? That's what makes him so special and so beautiful and so wonderful. Anyway, I'd like to thank all of you today for coming on YouTube, on live, and I'd like to say Shabbat Shalom to you, and I'll see you next time.